All right. Welcome back to the Domed In Pod. We're going to be talking about the Syracuse defensive line for the upcoming season. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Just maybe talk about a few of the guys that we're going to expect to, play, but it's a deep group. So, strap in here. At the tackle positions, we're pretty sure we're going to start with Tank, Deion Wilson Jr., and Chris Thomas Jr. Both are big guys, 6'6", 327 for Chris Thomas Jr., and Tank is 6'5", 300. So, big dudes.
Love that duo.
We've been talking about that with these position previews. Beef.
It's age and beef. Like, they're old and they're big, and I think that's a good combination. I'm excited to add Thomas into the mix, dude. He's a true nose tackle. Started at Florida, ended up at Marshall, was productive there. We just have needed that sort of just big guy to take up space in the middle of the defense, man. And just you can't teach 6'6", 330, dude.
And it's something Syracuse just hasn't had. And we know that. It's something Syracuse hasn't had. And then, the other guys that are in that D tackle spot, Rashad Perry, he gave us some time last year. Isaiah Hastings, he gave us some time last year. Fuentes Cundiff gave us minutes last year. And Rooks. So, I think you got four solid contributors here, guys who can all play, guys who can all rotate in spots. And I think that, we've talked a lot about that's big in the defensive end spot, the defensive tackle spot, is being able to rotate guys in. Speaking of the defensive end spot, that in terms of who's starting, it's a lot less clear. I think you got five guys. Any of them can obviously play either side, to be honest with you. And I think we're going to see these guys line up all over. And, whoever's hot's going to play kind of thing. But the five guys that we're really going to be looking at is Dennis Hawkwise Jr., David Reese, Chase Simmons, Kevin Jabby Jr., and David Amamparolia. I definitely fucked up that guy's name. But listen, those are the five guys that are really going to play, and I think they're all going to play. Fran's done this on both the offensive defensive line, trying to rotate guys in. He did a lot last year. We saw big minutes from Jabby. We saw big minutes from Amamparolia. And, we saw big minutes from Hawkes and Simmons as well, right? So we're bringing in David Reese, right, from Cal. Is that where he's coming in from?
Yep.
And I think that's going to be that's just another solid guy to bring in. So I think you're going to be deep this year.
Yeah, I think we're looking at, I believe, an eighth-year player there in Reese. This is a group that I think is Fran would probably view as a work in progress for his transition overall. Like, we're still turning this spot over on the roster, but I think we've got an intriguing group of guys. I think Hawkes and Jobity have both shown to be productive when they can play and stay on the field. And then we've got some guys who've got some talent, or at least can provide some experience out there. I mean, Reese has been productive at a P5 level here for a few years. He's going to be a good rotational piece. Omaporiola, we'll see what he can give us. Here, he's another guy that's kind of a holdover from the Dino era. But overall, this is an interesting group here that we're working through. I think Simmons actually has shown some interesting stuff, and I think we will maybe see Hastings kick outside a bit here as well. But this is an interesting group here on the end. I think, honestly, we have a little more certainty at the defensive tackle spot right now between Thomas, Rooks, and Wilson, which I think is a clear, three-headed lead.
I wouldn't be so quick to throw Fuentes Cundiff off the list there.
I don't know. I think those guys, I think there's a pretty clear, in my opinion, I think Fuentes Cundiff probably is number 4, but I think those are your top 3 in terms of the rotation. But obviously, performance can dictate changes on that.
Yeah, and I also just think it's a position Fran's not going to be afraid to rotate. And that's a position where guys get injured. You get injured every year in that position.
I mean, Thomas is going to be a 2-down player at the most anyway, right?
Right.
This game's not playing on 3rd down.
And I also wouldn't put it past Fran on, he did it last year on some big passing downs to put in 4 defensive ends. So he's going to change guys up. He's going to move guys around on the defensive line. And I really like that approach. He does it on the offensive line as well. I think it's the right approach. You see it a lot. We've talked about this. You see it a lot in Georgia. You see it a lot in Alabama. You see it a lot in even Ohio State. You see these guys come in and out of the game, a lot of pass rushers. Harbaugh was successful at the end of his run at Michigan, just rotating in a bunch of guys. And that's like one of the things that I think like some of the teams you look at that have struggled, that are like big name teams. One team I think about, like Florida. Florida hasn't had quite the quality of pass rusher it used to, and they haven't been quite as deep at that position. And so it's such an important position. It can really make or break you. And so you're going to have to be able to get sacks. You're going to have to make negative plays in college because teams score, right?
Absolutely.
Like we know that.
And I think that's going to be – this is a big question mark group, I think, on the end at least. Like we need to figure out if we can get pressure on the quarterback. And we obviously losing Fadil, who was clearly our best pass rusher, and frankly Marlowe as well, got to the quarterback a lot when we sent him. And so –
and Marlowe made big tackles behind the line of scrimmage at big times.
And even with that, we were not really a great pass rushing team last year. And so
no, we weren't. But I also think it's not a matter of how good we are. It's a matter of how good can we be kind of thing, because I think there's a chance we could be very good this year and we could actually get to the passer a lot. There's a chance that we don't show any improvement from last year, and that would be disappointing because there's a lot of guys who have held over. I'm a believer in Fran, right? So I think that we're going to see a lot of these guys who were here last year really take a step forward. And I thought there was a lot there last year, and that's what excites me.
Yeah, I'd like to see, again, this is a big development group. I think this is a question mark group. I think, like you said, this is probably the group with maybe the widest spectrum of outcomes here in terms of how this can go. I think, like you said, look, we may be very happy and impressed with the leaps some of these guys have taken and some of the guys we've brought in to complement them, or this could be a rough group for us. And again, we'll see how this goes. The defensive line will be a very interesting piece because I do think we've added size and experience. And I think we agree on this, that the line play should be, I think, significantly better with the depth this year.
I think last year we didn't have this depth, and the guys that we're talking about here, a lot of them either were playing injured or got injured in the middle of the season, right? So you're thinking about Tank. You're thinking about Jabity. I think Jaquez was down for the last few games of the year, right? So it's like, a lot of these guys were playing injured, and that's the nature of playing defensive line too, right? Like you're going to get injuries. And I think that we've never been this deep at Syracuse on the defensive line. Never. And I think that's what really excites me. I'm more worried about the linebackers when we get there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those are the two. Yeah, the linebackers are going to be an interesting